These are over 150 of the best Brawl Stars tips and tricks out there, from brawler tech that could save you to essential gameplay strategies. Every tip is from my Discord and pro players alike. Thank you so much, and let's get right into it. Edit your controls to what feels best. I've come to notice that we all have different styles of playing Brawl Stars. I for one use a mix of some sort of claw grip and thumbs. It's just what feels comfortable. Don't feel like you have to stick to a certain style if that's not what works best for you. Unless you play with your feet, it's kinda weird. Before you use your Fang super, shoot a shoe at the enemy before going in. This lets you charge your super 25% and removes a shield from enemy fangs or just gets that bit more damage in. Showdown is one of the best modes for pushing mastery. Getting 4th gives you the same mastery as getting 1st. It's pretty OP. You can use Cordelia's super to sneak up on the enemy team after exiting the Shadow Realm. This could be handy in something like Gem Grab or Bounty. In Knockout, if you're the only one left on the team and you know you're going to lose, you should kill yourself in the smoke to not feed any supers. Sprout's super can be used to dodge attacks. Just throw it down before the super hits you and it'll push you just out of the way. Super useful, especially since Sprout is so squishy and super vulnerable. Know your counters. You should know that in most cases a Grom versus an Edgar is usually a losing battle, or how Piper versus Miko is nearly unplayable. Understand who you can go up against and who you should probably ignore. Before using any super, always try to shoot first for a bit more of a super recharge. Like for example, shoot with Janet, then start flying. If you have a Shelly super in Brawl Ball and have a wall in front of you with a ball, just throw the ball towards the goal and super the wall right after for a free goal. Lots of brawlers can dodge Buzz's super easily. It just requires a little bit of practice and patience. Using your hypercharge frequently is not that bad. Don't be afraid to use it around the same time you get it, since it just sits there building up dust instead of being used to help you or your team. Using Gray's walking cane gadget on an enemy and supering at the same time will cause the enemy to be pulled towards your previous location. This is a trick for Gray that can be used anywhere, but works best in Brawl Ball as it allows for Gray to steal the ball and break enemy cover simultaneously. Always find a wall to hit your enemies towards when you're playing BB, as the knockback ability can sometimes push them too far away and out of your range. With Maisie, you can use your super and the disengage gadget at the same time, allowing you to dash and surprise enemies with the super. When BB has super, you should try to first shoot with the super and then shoot with the knockback of her bats. This can hit the enemy twice with one bubble. Always use your Meg super in Knockout regardless of if you're winning or losing, because you lose it after respawning. Let your teammates farm their super in Knockout if it's a 1v3 and you already have yours. You can purposely lose games in Trophy Escape to get bot matches and still benefit, as you only lose 2 trophies per game. It's tedious, but the profit is insane. Keep count of the enemy gadgets. You can either do this manually or by looking below them. Once they run out, the gadget symbol will disappear. Keeping an eye out on your teammates is crucial in 3v3 modes. Sometimes you might need to help them win a lane or see if they need support. In a team mode, make sure you're a team player. This might be a bug, but I'll assume it's just a feature. If you super an enemy with Charlie in Trophy Escape, you can force them to drop all of their trophies, which is super useful, especially right in the teleporter. If you play someone like Larry, Lori, Nita, or really anyone with a spawnable, use them to tank for your damage. They are expendable and should be used in this way. Passing to your teammates in Brawl Ball is usually a good idea when you're too far from the goal, but don't pass to a teammate currently engaged in combat, as it could throw them off and potentially make them lose their fight. Use any of the push gadgets or supers like Ems' friend zone gadget to stop people from shooting the Brawl Ball in. The exception though is if there's a clear time delay between them shooting and you landing the hit. Never give up. This is probably the most important tip on this list. There's always the chance to come back in a match. It's never 0% unless you decide to make it that way. Don't ruin the match for others just because you don't think it's winnable. It always can be. Every day you can receive 30 extra tokens from playing Candidates of the Day in Mapmaker by voting. It isn't much, but it builds up over time and helps in the long run. If you have every brawler, you can save up your credits on the Brawl Pass until the next season begins. No need to buy the $20 bundle when you have all of these credits right here. In the new Brawl Pass design, the credits will always go to the newest brawler if you choose it, so save them up because there's always going to be a new brawler every season. Spike's super only slows you down by 1 level, so that means if you gain 1 level of speed like with a max super, you will be back at normal speed. So that means the slow effect of it has counterplay. Spike's mythic gear on the other hand slows you down by 1.5 to 2ish levels. To get more coins, grinding to Bronze 1 mastery on every single brawler gives you around 66,000 coins in total. Bronze 1 doesn't take too long, so it's worth doing. Grinding to Silver 2 mastery on every every brawler will give you 187,000 coins. The blue button is for moving and the red button is for attacking. Dodging Spike's curveball is one of the most famous dodging techniques, and it's also one of the hardest. I'll link a video from Z Replays in the description. He describes it way better than I ever could. With a brawler like Shelly, Frank, or Jackie who can knock back or stun in some way with their super, shoot the brawl ball and then immediately super them so it goes right through them and you can get an easy peasy goal. When you use Chester against tanks, use a 2-3-4 build combo. If you're against assassins, use a 3-4-1 build combo. These give you a way better chance of survival and actually killing the enemy. Also, don't use Chester's heal really any time other than when you start to take damage. There's a small delay when you deploy it and when it actually begins healing. It's also like one of the best heals. If you want to stun with Chester, make sure you have the 3-4-1 build combo. If you're running Fang with the stun gadget, if you click both attack and gadget and then attack again, you can attack twice almost instantly. When using Mr. P's gadget, make sure to use it when the current porter is on death's door. It heals him all the way up and becomes way stronger. Use Mandy's caramelized gadget to slow down an enemy enough to auto-aim your next attack or super. When firing with Colt, move in the same direction they're moving so shots can hit a little bit easier. This might be super commonly known, but Buzz's super stuns for longer when they're shot from farther away. The closer you are to an enemy, the lower the stun duration will be. If you want the maximum value from your super, do it from afar. Sticking Squeak's attacks to the minecart and minecart madness is a strat that can sometimes take enemies by surprise. When in a 1v1 with another Edgar and you're Edgar, walk backwards with your attack. This will make it super difficult for your opponent to hit you and you're still able to hit them and heal. Win. Don't lose. Angelo and Hank are the only two brawlers with a charging attack, but you might not have known that you can activate their gadgets while they're charging. This can be super useful when in a tight situation and you don't want to lose your bubble. Sprout's hypercharge is not that good, but it is really good in heist paired with this replanting gadget. It can deal massive amounts of damage to the safe with little to no effort at all. Just good luck defending. Gems and gem grabs spawn towards each team's side one at a time. It's not random. Use this to your advantage and don't ever extend yourself just for a few gems. Never force kills in bounty or wipeout. They're very slow game modes. Chip away at them and don't rush in. Your death could be the deciding factor between winning and losing. Don't bunch up. So many brawlers nowadays do some sort of splash damage, which could just feed if you're just being a stupid, soofy, goofy little goober. Pay attention to how your enemy dodges. People have patterns in their movement and this can easily be manipulated. Use Mandy's super on choke points in the map, not random willy-nilly. When you're using Shelly, run her Shell Shock star power and clay pigeons for maximum carnage. Games. If you already have a bear down with Nita, you can activate your gadget, then spawn another for an insta stun. Bull can tank any knockback with his super, which can be super useful if you need to win a matchup against a BB or something. You can actually super through unbreakable walls using Bull. Subscribe so we can hit 100,000 subscribers. We just need a few more, so go! Go! Get an insane combo with Primo by shooting, suplex supplement, run to the landing spot, and then shoot again. Dyna Jump is super interesting, and one of my favorite tricks to do with him is throw a stick at my feet so I jump away, then throw a stick where I want it to hit. If the enemy decides to attack me, I might dodge, and best of all, I can get away a little bit easier. Whenever you're playing Dynamite, if you know you're going to hit a shot with Dynamite, always throw at least 2 shots at the same spot at once. Dynamite deals a ton of damage, and this can probably kill a lot of brawlers in the game. Gadgets like Daryl's recoiling rotator, popping pin cushions, or multi-ball launcher, you can easily get a ton of damage into a heist safe. You just need to position it right. Brock can actually hit behind walls, which is super useful when trying to hit an enemy behind cover. Use a Gene super to cancel a brawler's attack animation. You've got to be a bit careful when using this, but you can attack faster with a Mortis when he's up against a wall. In some instances, you might not even see his attack animation, but be careful because sometimes nothing happens. With Primo's new hypercharge, use your meteor gadget and then you can hypercharge super an enemy right into the meteor again. Use unfriendly bushes, then hypercharge Rosa to make it near impossible for enemies to escape. Jesse's super is incredibly valuable in Hot Zone. Use her energized star power to shield damage, and a bonus is that the bounce shots can hit enemies approaching. Use Tick as an area controller. He's pretty useless outside of that. His entire kit basically revolves around getting enemies away from you and dealing annoying chip damage. Try to corner enemies with his attack and only use his super and gadget when absolutely necessary. If timed correctly, you can hit an enemy twice with a Daryl super. Similarly, you can extend your super length by rolling on water. With Penny, use Master Blaster to knock back enemies towards you and then use Salty Barrel to finish them off quickly. With Bo, move left to concise your attacks into a more centered formation and right to spread them out farther. Run towards an Ems instead of away from her. Her attacks deal more damage farther away than up close. On the contrary, do the opposite with Chuck. When you use Stu, attack before you super. Sometimes you might get your super back, letting you do a double chain. I don't think many people know this, but you actually get a 50% damage reduction with Chuck. So when you're low on health and you need to get out of a tough situation, using his super might be the way to go. Always try to play with Bruce after spawning him in. Don't just throw him down just to throw him down. He's valuable and can be an incredible ammo waster. Side note, only use Fox Fur when the situation absolutely calls for it. It gives Bruce essentially 11,600 health, which is wild. You should always know what walls to break in a given match. Sometimes it's better to not break any, but other times you want to clear them all out. It all depends on your team and the enemy's team as well. For example, if my team is running Tick and Hank, I might want to keep my walls up, but if we're running snipers and marksmen, well, the walls should come down. Don't ever extend with 8-bit, he's slow and is an easy target to be whittled down and to charge the enemy super. Cheat Cartridge is very useful when falling back to defensive spot. Don't be afraid to use this as much as you can. His super is very rechargeable and can be used multiple times. Homemade Recipe is best used when trying to secure a final kill rather than chipping with Piper. Pam is used as a defensive tank, not a damage dealer. Use her as such. Pam's shots are not random. 5 are in the middle with 2 on each side. Aim to the center at range, but you can chip damage around walls in a pinch. Frank's super is very valuable. Use his tank trait to farm it and get as many off as you can. It's great for controlling an area. Do a normal attack with Frank in one direction, then shoot your super towards them immediately after as a surprise attack. Use Nani's shield to tank a bunch of damage like in the hot zone or heist. Be careful though, as this will charge their super and she can be interrupted. Even though you might be running business resilience, the healing is based off of your missing health, so it will become redundant after a while. Standard healing is still the GOAT. Sandy shoots 3 different projectiles at different speeds. Always try to attack with the fastest first at the corner of his shots. Kevlar Vest can avoid any knockback or stun effects, which makes him one of the best tanks to, well, tank attacks, especially in a matchup against someone like a BB or a Frank. You can see Kit's footsteps when he's using his invisible gadgets. Never go on top of the other opponent with Melody, since her notes deal no damage. Stay at a distance away at all times. Never use Kit's super onto enemies, since anyone else can attack and kill you both. Only do this when you are sure to kill them with the initial jump. Play your role. Each brawler has a role to fulfill in the grand scheme of a match. There might be a tank, the damage dealer, the controller, etc. Just embrace it and be the best you can be. Make sure your friends list is clean. There's a reason I don't like adding a lot of you guys, because I want to keep my list only with people that I know I can work well with and people that can carry me. Using Grom's super, then immediately popping his gadget and attacking after leaves them very exposed. Charge your Hank attack in the opposite direction you're trying to attack with, and then flick your finger around to actually attack them. It's harder for them to predict where to land if it's not facing them. The Rodeo Hank bubble is solid, where the normal Hank bubble is translucent, which can be beneficial for hiding teammates, but also really bad when trying to actually hit enemies. Hank is still the best though. Understanding Hank's super pattern can make it so that you can snipe people from incredibly long distances. They deal a ton of damage, so this is really good when you want to master Hank. Hank's bubble does not disappear if you use teleporters, making sneak attacks really good. Use survival shovel right before rushing into an enemy. Don't use it once you're up close to them. Mortis won't have enough time after being up close to fully utilize the gadget after the fact. Focus on eliminating single targets with Mortis before the team. He's better at 1v1s than teams, though if you can cook, then go cook. Super before you charge at a group of enemies with Mortis. It'll heal you, and if they attack, it'll be negated. This is also a reason why his mythic gear is active. Gene is probably the best brawler to use vision gear with. His attack spread is insane, and being able to accurately see where an enemy is super useful, especially if they don't know that you're running the vision gear. Dribbling in Brawl Ball is an incredibly useful skill to have, especially with highly mobile brawlers like Melody or Mortis. Bounce shots off of walls. This is the best way to attack enemies on top of you with Sprout, though it still kinda sucks because it's Sprout. Malaise is an underutilized Byron star power. It lets him shut down Mortis's or Edgar's super well, and not a single soul actually plays this star power, so it will definitely catch someone by surprise. Squeak's sloppy slowy gadget is best used in choke points around the map. Gray's walking cane gadget can be used to pull enemies through unbreakable walls. Use controlled Willow enemies as shields rather than using them on offense. Willow's super also works on brawlers with respawn shields. Doug plus 2 tanks is very viable in Brawl Ball. Doug double tank? You can see where Chuck's post will go next by the direction they face when near them. Throw a Chuck post slightly outside of the circle radius so you get a little bit more range range with it. Slowing Toxin is viable even if it only affects one enemy. It could be enough to push you to win the game. When you hit someone with Crow, run back and turn around unexpectedly to get even more chip damage in. It's best to use Invisi-Heal with Leon to get a ton of free healing since you can't get rid of the effect. Aim ahead then behind a brawler with Amber to secure some damage when you have a bit of ammo left. Auto-aiming is usually the way to go, but a lot can go to waste that way. Play Meg passively. She deals really good chip damage from moderately long range, but when she's out of the mecha, she's super useless. Though do note, her little form does deal more damage per bullet than Rob does. By using Push It, Colette can cycle hypercharges way quicker than without. Just like Rico or Sprout, bounce rough shots off walls for a longer range. Prioritize buffing teammates than throwing your super at enemies with rough, since these stat boosts come in handy far more often. It's best to use a super to either break walls or buff. Use your Janet super very wisely. Sometimes it can be great to get out of trouble, but it can also make you unstable and fly into places you really don't want to be. Otis can mute enemies with respawn shields in any mode. I find this really useful in duo showdown and sometimes in Brawl Ball. Buster's super is invisible when inside a bush, which can come in handy when protecting a teammate from a gene or something. Sam's Knuckle Busters give Sam a bit of a speed boost after throwing them. You can constantly pick them up and throw them again to get an almost indefinite speed boost. When using Cordelius, mute the enemy first and then shout around them. You can dodge using Cordelius super since it removes all projectiles from the map, but be careful since this can save an enemy your teammates are shooting. Cordelius's hypercharge can be used for stat boost at first, then super at the last second for maximum value since the effect stays the entire duration. It's always better to charge your heat bar with Pearl as much as possible, but attacking at low heat is okay, it's regeneratable. Miko's biggest weakness is when people actively know he's there. Hide inside the bushes to stay stealthy. Monkey Business can disable charge shots at brawlers like Angelo or Hank. Presto doesn't put a ring above Miko's head, so this can be very useful when catching enemies by surprise. Just like Cordelius, use your hypercharge for stat boost at first and use your super for maximum value with Miko. Sorta like Hank, don't aim directly at your opponents to psych them out with Angelo, as you can see where he intends to shoot. Melody can gain notes even if she hits a non-brawler. This is really useful against turrets or the safe or things like that. Move counterclockwise when using Melody to get more damage in more efficiently. Die as much as possible with Melody so when her death plays, it distracts the enemy enough to kill them. Lori has an ammo bar as well. If possible, you can use more supers to refresh his ammo bar. Use
Order fall back
to swap lanes and play defensively or vice versa. Stu Zero Drag is better for high ping, Gasoheal is better for low ping. Auto aim Stu super rather than drag it. It's faster and a lot more efficient. Lanes, lanes, lanes. Stay in your lane and try not to bunch up in one. If needed, you can help your teammates and others, but try not to deviate too much from this. Only deviate when necessary. Every map has lanes for a reason. To score better in basketball, shoot the ball right as the basket stops moving at the peak of its movement to ensure it getting in. Know what brawlers die to who and how much ammo that should take. Analyze your stats so you can better judge when an enemy will die or not. Throw a Dyna Super, then throw in a normal attack to follow through the knockback from the super. Know who to ban and play in ranked. Too many times do I see people ban and pick the most random brawlers and it's really annoying. That person is me. Shh. Look for isolated brawlers whenever possible. They'll be easy pickings. Use your Buzz Super, then activate your gadget so you get a free super kick in Brawl Ball.
The first one and one of the most important tips I have to offer for Amber is to practice and learn how to button mash. While you technically can get away with auto aiming by holding the button, sometimes she has a 300 millisecond delay before she actually starts shooting. It's a self-inflicted and built-in shot delay, and it makes her way worse against ambushes and gives her enemies substantially more time to respond to her super if you want to burn it with auto aim for some reason. But if you can mash auto aim really quickly and shoot around 9 times per second, your damage output on demand will be higher than what it would have been if you were to auto aim and auto aim button. Shooting 10 times per second after that is your 0.3 second delay, unless you're auto aiming for longer than 3 seconds continuously. Usually you don't want to auto aim continuously for more than 3 seconds because there's another technique that allows you to smoothly transition from shooting 10 points per second with manual auto aim to shooting 10 points per second with auto aim instantaneously. But be sure to try it in the training cave before just going into a sorting match with it in mind though. If you can do the mashing comfortably, it's so worth it.
Thanks, Duke. If you go around in a circle against a primo, his shots don't hit effectively and that could be the difference between a kill or dying. Try to lure people into bow mines. You can use this tripwire gadget to ensure the kill. If you pair Belle's grounded star power with her hypercharge against an enemy on maps like Ring of Fire or in Gem Grab, you effectively shut down their mid for 5 whole seconds, which should help with the tides of the game. Analyze what star power your enemies use, especially matchup winning ones like Carl or Shelly. This will help you play around them better and make more informed decisions. Subscribe.